Hello, this is Tarregor. Welcome to my version of World of Warcraft Classic Plus. This video is a stream on twitch.tv that was not edited, so it's going to look like a Twitch stream. The design direction of my vision of Classic Plus is substantially different from that in Retail WoW, Circus Shadowlands, any private servers, Vanilla Plus, and Turtle WoW. This is partially because it aims to fix Vanilla WoW's many problems first, flush out and polish its already there second, and add new content third. This is part of a playlist of videos. Check this video's description for a link to the playlist. The document displays my version of WoW Classic Plus, and the document's version number is version 1.5.17. All versions of the document are based upon patch 1.12.2 of World of Warcraft, the one before the Burning Crusade pre-patch. If you just want to know about the general design direction of my vision of Classic Plus before you look into this, then watch the introductory video in this playlist, or read the document yourself and look at the list of major features. The link to the document is my channel's about page. That, and I do not have a team of people or have working with me to make an actual private server out of this. This is all pure design thus far, and it ain't done yet. Now, before we get into this, you want to know what profession cooldowns and profession level restriction variables are. Most examples of profession cooldowns from vanilla are engineering bombs. This is what the glossary says about profession cooldowns and a profession cooldown, sometimes referred to as a profession buff, is a specific combat-altering bonus and social ability that is not necessarily tied to equipment that primary professions grant a player in order to make engineering not be end-all be-all best profession in the entire game by leaps and bounds. Such buffs include the profession granting a permanent bonus to a stat, or the profession granting an activated ability of some sort, or the profession granting the ability to use an item or enchant that requires having the profession at a specific level or higher. That is, using the on-use effect of such an item, or equipping it, depends on the item, and possibly and you possibly might need a specific professional specialization to use it. This in order to use it in the first place. Of course, you'll lose your profession buff / cooldowns if you drop a profession. So, for example, letterworkers can apply special belt enchants that can only be activated. That'll only do anything for letterworkers. They'll do absolutely nothing under absolutely all circumstances if you do not have enough letterworking skill to make use of it. And sometimes, if you don't have the right letterworking specialization, either. Anyway, moving on. Profession level restriction variable. A badly named term because I can't come up with a better name. This refers to the character level that corresponds to the best. This means the character level that best corresponds to a specified profession level, concerning how powerful the items are that you can craft at a given profession level. For example, a character level of 8 best corresponds to a profession level of 65, and a character level of 54 best corresponds to a profession level of 295. Design. Then on actual blacksmithing changes. Before the execution comes the agenda. I generally want to flesh out the game, and make blacksmithing be as good for raiding as engineering is when somebody else can make everything in the entire game for you without relying on the spot, and just give it to you on the spot. And this is going to be about relying on glimmering mithril insignia to make it happen. I also want to massively nerf glimmering mithril insignia. I want to make some non-valuable regents become valuable. I want to equalize the monetary values of sharpening stones and weight stones. To be nitpick. It's a nitpick, but whatever. It's a nitpick, but it's pretty minor. I want to do things related to other sections of the document too. Anyway, blacksmithing plan changes. Not to change to the products, but to the way you craft them. Jagged obsidian shield will require armor smithing to learn because it makes sense. The plans for Sulfuron Hammer will require hammer smithing to learn. It's a reason for a legendary item after all. The plans for Sulfuron Hammer will be made bind on pickup due to their extreme significance. Darkrune Gauntlets, in addition to their vanilla regent requirements, will also require 1 Essence of Undeath to be crafted, and similarly, you'll also need 2 Essences of Undeath to craft Darkrune Helm, and similarly, you'll also need 3 Essences of Undeath to craft Darkrune Breastplate. This will go towards making Essences of Undeath not be vendor trash. Of course, there are other things that know to make it not be vendor trash. That's just one of them. That's just a bit of it. Arcanite Reaper, Arcanite Champion, Annihilator, Frostguard, Heartseeker, Hammer of the Titans, and the Enchanted Thorium pseudo set of items will cost half as many Arcanite parts to craft as before. Rounded down. They costed too much to be worth it before. Before. No, I'm not making the items with enchanted thorium in their name be a set of items that plate, helm, breastplate, and whatever the hell else. I'm not turning them into a proper set of items set bonuses. I mean, pseudo set, quasi set, false set. It's just kind of like a set, except it's like a set, except for not the set bonuses. Anyway, the cost of elemental sharpening stone will be reduced to only one elemental earth as part of accounting for how it won't be more powerful than dense sharpening stones anymore, and its plants will be turned into a white item. Likewise will be done to elemental weight stones, which will cost 1 elemental earth and 5 rune cloth to craft. By the way, I am adding a new item to the game, elemental weight stones. Plants elemental sharpening stone will be moved to Thorium Brotherhood reputation. Elemental weight stones plants will come from the same place, Thorium Brotherhood reputation. All items that required obsidian to craft that you'll no longer find this in the molten core. You'll no longer find these in the molten core. You'll find it from the Thorium Brotherhood instead, in case I wasn't clear enough. All items that require obsidian to craft will require significantly more small and large obsidian shards than before to craft, due to them also being mineable from obsidian mobs and not garage, namely obsidian statues. Skeleton keys will now produce 6 keys per craft instead of 2 per craft due to the relevant ores other than Arcanite being 3 times rarer than before. Arcanite skeleton keys are too expensive anyway. Searing Golden Blade and Edge of Winter will additionally require 2 strong fluxes to craft. Golden Scale Bracers will require 2 less steel bars to craft, but also require 1 gold bar to craft. It's supposed to be made of gold after all. It's supposed to have gold in it after all. Ironvine breastplate and gloves will require black lotus oil instead of bloodvine. Oh, by the way, these formerly required 0 gold to craft. Now they require 1. Anyway, Ironvine gloves and breastplate will require black lotus oil instead of bloodvine to craft, and so they'll be able to afford to be item level 63 carry to level 58 blue items instead of item level 63 carry to level 58 epic items, seeing as how they won't require 40 man raid bats to craft. More on that in a different. More on the why that would make more sense in a different video. I don't feel like providing all the context here. Anyway, Dark Iron Reaver will no longer require fiery cores or lava cores to craft, and so the almost 63 character level 58 blue items instead of almost 63 character level 58 epic items, since they won't require 40 mana raid to craft. You know, I'll go over the explanation anyway for this. So basically, the in-game reward system is changed like this. All epic rank-based PvP gear and all items that drop from raids with absolutely 0 exceptions, except for rank 15 weapons, they were turned into the item level 65 items. All of them. Except for rank 15 weapons. Those are item level 71 epics. Which are there to act as pseudo-legendary items. And then, of course, legendary items are going to be better than the epic items. But anyway, yeah. You get a legendary from raids and item level 65 epics from raids. And all the raids in tier 1, Nax is squished down to tier 1, for example. And Den's Gold Grub and AQ20 were taken up to 40-man tier 1 raids. That's how the end-game reward system got changed, in part. So yeah, I do not want people to get their hands on item level 65 items that are epic before entering into a 40-man raid. Aside from the very few world drops, T-Boo's, Killmaim, Blade of Hana, and Cloak of Flames. Killmaim used to not be one of those. But in this game it is. Anyway, moving on to blacksmithing changes. Very many weapons that require more than 200 blacksmithing craft will additionally require 1 or more elemental fluxes to craft, now that they're made by alchemists and are far cheaper than before. Now to blacksmithing product changes. The changes to the actual things that the recipes make. People reading this should take note of section number 3.0.5, sweeping itemization changes, and section number 3.0.6, itemization methodology. These section divisions will have these subsections will have a tremendous impact upon most blacksmithing plans after I get around to making that happen. However, the groundwork for those changes is laid out in these sections. Invulnerable Mail's chance win hit effect will reduce melee damage taken by 95% instead of making you immune to melee damage, so that it is more useful in Warsong Gulch and group PvE. Design note, the proc still has an arbitrary itemization value, however, I'll probably fix that later. The speed of Arcanine Champion will be decreased by 0.3, and its damage and proc rate will be increased accordingly. This will serve to cause more players to actually pick swordsmithing. Elemental Sharpening Stones will no longer work on blunt weapons. It just did not make sense. Oh, decrease, by the way, means slow. Yeah, Elemental Sharpening Stones will no longer work on blunt weapons. It did not make sense. Again, I added Elemental Weight Stones to the game, but later. Persuader will be a one-handed weapon instead of a main-hand weapon. You'll be able to stick it in your offhand. Crafted keys may be auctioned, though you'll still need blacksmithing to use them, despite it not thematically making sense. Because gameplay. Gameplay matters. Jagged Obsidian Shield will no longer have an internal cooldown because it does not need to have one. Thick Obsidian Breastplate will no longer have an internal cooldown because it does not need to have one. Rough, Coarse, Heavy, Solid, and Dense Weight Stones will have their durations increased to 40 minutes, from 30 minutes to 40 minutes, to compensate for them requiring a cloth to make over sharpening stones. Elemental Sharpening Stone will have its duration increased to 1 hour to compensate for the extra requirements over dense sharpening stones. Iron Shield Spikes will deal 9 to 10 damage and can only be applied to item level 30 or higher shields. Mithril Shield Spikes will deal 12 to 14 damage and can only be applied to item level 45 plus shields. Thorium Shield Spikes will deal 15 to 18 damage and can only be applied to item level 55 and higher shields. Iron Counterweight will be turned to 290 skill plans that of course now drop for higher level enemies instead of lower level enemies, called Arcanine Counterweight. It will only work on item level 16 higher two-handed weapons and provides in total 4% melee haste and 8 attack power. Of course, it will only drop from endgame mobs again. Silver Skeleton Keys may only open stuff of 1 to 125 lockpicking skill. Golden Keys, 1 to 175 skill. True Silver Keys, 1 to 225 skill. And Arcanine Keys, 1 to 300 skill. New and removed blacksmithing plans. Blacksmiths, and especially armorers, when I get around to it, will be able to craft more shields and not just Jagged Obsidian Shield. Various shield plans, various levels will be added to the existing blacksmithing plans and the armorsmithing quest chain requirements. This is to help to flesh out the game. This will replace some quest objectives for the armorsmithing quest chain. Blacksmiths, and especially weaponsmiths, will be able to craft fist weapons. Various fist weapons of various levels will be added to the game. Will be added to the game. So, existing blacksmithing plans. This will help to flesh out the game. Blacksmiths and especially weapons will also be able to make pole arms and not just blight. Also to flesh out the game. But again, that's when I get around. I haven't gotten around to doing either of these yet. Nor this. I still have yet to do this. Again, this design document, this WoW Classic Plus thing ain't done being designed yet. Anyway, next up. Elemental Weight Stone will be added to the game. Hold on. Yeah, it will be added to the game. This item will function exactly as the Elemental Sharpening Stones do, except it will only work on blunt weapons, last for an extra 20 minutes, so in the duration of 1 hour and 20 minutes. That is 80 minutes. And it'll cost 1 Elemental Earth and 5 Rune Cloth to craft. In total. Steel Weapon Chain will be removed from the game as part of preventing players from being immune to disarms. I want disarms to actually fucking matter in PvP. New plans will be added for Copper, Bronze, and Arcanite Shield Spikes to help to flesh out the game. Copper Shield Spikes deal 3 to 4 damage and can only be applied to any shield. Bronze Shield Spikes deal 5 to 7 damage and can only be applied to item level 20 and higher shields. Arcanite Shield Spikes deal 19 and 21 damage and can only be applied to item level 60 and higher shields. Key Rings must be equipped in the special keyring bag slot before they can be used to store keys. There are 4 key rings, all of which can be crafted by blacksmiths and cannot be obtained in any other way. Silver key rings require 1 silver bar and a few coarse grinding stones and weak fluxes craft. It has 6 slots. Golden key rings require 1 gold bar, and hold on. Golden key rings require 1 gold bar and a few heavy grinding stones and strong fluxes of craft and has 8 slots. True silver keyrings require 1 true silver bar and a few solid grinding stones and elemental fluxes to craft, and that's 10 slots. Arcanite keyrings, not many people are going to make, require 1 Arcanite bar and many dense grinding stones and elemental fluxes, and possibly other reagents to craft. It has 12 slots. All 4 keyring plans are learned from blacksmithing trainers to the appropriate levels. This will not only cause new players to find out that keyrings exist in the first place before they get one, and not just wonder where their first key went after they get one, but it will also slightly increase the immersion and help of players and help to flesh out the game. Design note, I question if it would be more thematically appropriate for jewel crafters or blacksmiths to craft key rings. Do keep in mind that blacksmiths craft actual keys. Craft the actual keys. Oh, craft actual keys. Blacksmiths may craft potion bags. Potion bags are boxes that can contain potions and anything else shaped like a potion, such as other products of alchemy, alcohol, other beverages, poisons, holy water, and vials. Copper flask container, 10 slaughter, requires level 5 to equip. By the way, I've not determined the read cost for any of these yet, aside from the stuff in their names. Bronze flask container, 12 slots, level 15. Iron flask container, 14 slots, level 25. Steel flask container, 16 slots, level 32. Mithril flask container, 18 slots, level 40. Thorium flask container, 20 slots, green item, level 50. These are white items. Enchanted thorium flask container, 22 slots, green item, requires level 58. And then Arcanite flask container, 24 slots, blue item, requires level 60 to equip. This will not only compensate for herbalism bags being removed from the game, but it'll also let people who always want to have tons of consumables on hand have more room in their inventory for other things or more consumables, and it also gives alchemists a place to put their many throwable potions. By the way, I also removed enchanting bags from the game, but there's plenty of other stuff. There's plenty of places to put enchanting ingredients anyway. However, I also am adding engineering bags to the game that are crafted by engineers, toolboxes that is, for all of your engineering stuff. And of course, you'll also be able to put your thorium alchemy potions in your throwable alchemy potions in flask containers. I went over throwable alchemy potions in the alchemy video. The Burning Crusade's heavy copper longsword will be crafted by blacksmiths in this Classic Plus, as will the Burning Crusade's Windforged leggings. However, Windforged leggings will have a vanilla icon, and in addition to the Burning Crusade's crafting costs, also require 4 solid grinding stones to craft. The Burning Crusade's Earthforged leggings will be crafted by Armsmith, and it'll similarly also require 4 solid grinding stones to craft. The Burning Crusade's Light Skyforged axe will be crafted by weaponsmiths, but it'll have its icon replaced with vanilla icon, be renamed to Skyforged axe, and also require 3 solid grinding stones and 2 elemental fluxes to craft. The Burning Crusade's Light Emberforged hammer will be crafted by weaponsmiths, but it will be renamed to Emberforged hammer, and it also require 3 solid grinding stones and 2 elemental fluxes to craft. The Burning Crusade's Light Earthforged blade will be crafted by weaponsmiths, and it'll have its icon replaced with the vanilla icon, be renamed to Earthforged blade, and also require 3 solid grinding stones and 2 elemental fluxes to craft. Then in other blacksmithing changes. Glimmering Mithril Insignia will no longer grant immunity to fear. Any quest text of Did You Lose This will have the last sentence be removed from its description. By the way, I'm gonna revamp the itemization later of Glimmering Mithril Insignia. I have not gotten around to it yet, but eventually it's gonna do something more interesting instead of what it does. Blacksmiths generally know how to make weapons and their handles, even if they're not weaponsmiths. So they know how to disarm their wielders. In 150 blacksmithing, any blacksmith can be taught by their trainer how to disarm an opponent within melee range for 9 seconds on a 2.5 minute cooldown, which does not work on enemies more than 2 levels above you. Design note, such as the 4 Horsemen. An Alliance non-player character will be added to Stormwind that can teach Alliance blacksmiths a fair number of exclusive blacksmithing plans that plasmas of most levels care about, such as as well as how to bless sharpening stones and weight stones. See below. All sharpening stones and weight stones may only be used by blacksmiths of an appropriate profession level, and can only be used by a user. That is, you and not somebody else that does not have blacksmithing. This is due to the following changes. All sharpening stones and weight stones will no longer be applied as temporary weapon enchants. They'll instead be applied as regular, undispellable buffs that persist through death. And as such, they'll... You may have a maximum of 1 sharpening stone plus 1 weight stone on you at a time. This is so that blacksmithing can compete with engineering for raiding with someone else can make blacksmithing stuff for you. I just remembered. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I did go over that in the alchemy video, I'm pretty sure. Okay, good. Yes, all sharpening stones and weight stones will no longer be applied as temporary weapon enchants. They'll instead be applied as regular undispelled buffs to persist with your deck, and as such, they'll sack with all temporary weapon enchants. Yet, you may have a maximum of 1 sharpening stone plus 1 weight stone on you at a time. Of course, both will not affect the same weapon. One only affects sharp weapons, the other only affects blunt weapons, just like in vanilla. This is being done so that this and the disarm on use are here so that blacksmithing can compete with engineering for raiding when someone else can make blacksmithing stuff for you. Well, in the case of disarm, it's so that it can compete in PvP. Sharpening stones and weight stones will have a profession level requirement equal to how much skill you need to make them, and a character level requirement equal to their profession level restriction variables -5 to a maximum of 50, unless it will be below 5, in which case there will be no character level requirement. Or the profession level restriction variable, and went over that in the introduction. Sharpening stones and weight stones, instead of increasing damage dealt by X, will increase other stats, making it be as good for fast weapons as for slow weapons. Rough stones, 15 melee attack power. Coarse ones, 23 attack power. Heavy ones, 30 melee attack power. Coarse ones, just melee attack power, by the way. Solid ones, 45 melee attack power. Dense ones, 60 melee attack power. Elemental ones, 2 melee crit and 10 melee attack power. An alternative to dense ones. Elemental ones are no longer strictly better than dense ones. They're now as good as each other, depending on which stats you want. Furthermore, paladins can go to the special alliance blacksmithing trainer in Stormwind City that I mentioned earlier. To learn how. Can go to a special blacksmithing trainer in Stormwind City to learn how to bless their sharpening stones and weight stones with Stormwind Holy Water, causing these sharpening stones to become bind on pickup and have the following effects in total. Blessed Rough Stones, 15 melee attack power. Blessed Rough sharpening stones and weight stones, 15 melee attack power, 8 spell damage, and 17 healing. And, oh. However, you may not have a sharpening and stone, blessed sharpening stone, and blessed weight stone active on you at the same time. Both be active on you at the same time. Anyways, Blessed Rough sharpening and weight stones. 15 melee attack power, 8 spell damage, 7 healing. Yada etc. Blessed Dense sharpening and weight stones. 60 melee attack power, and 30 spell damage, and 67 healing. Blessed Elemental sharpening and weight stones. 2 melee crit, 10 melee attack power. And 2 spell crit, and 5 spell damage, and 11 healing. Again, you may not have a Blessed Sharpening Stone and Blessed Weight Stone be active on you at the same time. Remember to not let players have both a Blessed Sharpening Stone and Blessed Weight Stone active at the same time. And lastly, Blacksmith Hammer will be able to be used as a blacksmithing hammer, as in you may use it to craft blacksmithing items without a blacksmithing hammer in your inventory, whether or not it is equipped, and the item will be given appropriate flavor text. This is to help to flesh out the game. And that's all I got for blacksmithing changes. The next video will be on cooking, which, by the way, will not receive profession buffs to be competitive with engineering because it does not compete with engineering. It is a secondary profession, not a primary profession. Only primary profession's got profession buffs. And yeah, this is the list of change. This is a list of changes thus far from the previous version of the document. That's what I made it. That's each. Yeah, that's all I got for blacksmithing changes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.